I'm Chico from Chico Study Corner, and today we'll be dealing with the chapter 2 of Biology Class 12 CBSE. So that is the chapter Sexual Reproduction in Flowering Plants. In the previous bio chapter, that is chapter 1, Reproduction in Organisms, we dealt with something known as vegetative reproduction, which is a mode of asexual reproduction in plants. So plants reproduce both bisexual and asexual modes. So we dealt with the asexual modes in our previous chapter, and this whole chapter is dedicated for sexual modes of reproduction in plants. Okay? So first thing is what we have to learn from the heading itself. What do you mean by a flowering plant? Flowering, flower. The word flower is there. Flowering plant is a plant which gives or which produces flowers. So what is a flower? Flower is a modified stem, and flower is the site of sexual reproduction. Now we'll discuss about the parts of a flower. So a flower, a flower to have sexual reproduction, what should be there? There should be gametes. We learned about gametes. So for sexual reproduction there should be two gametes. Sometimes in a flower we learned in the previous one that is both the gametes coming together or single gametes coming together, monoecious and dioecious. Same way, now let's learn the parts of a flower with the help of a hibiscus, where there is both the gametes inside. So this is the picture. First I will tell you about the stigma, style and the ovary. So let's discuss about that. So this portion it's a rough sketch, okay? So this portion is the stigma. This is the style. This is the ovary. And what is this? This is the female part of a flower. Okay, the female part of a flower. Then we have stamens coming in. Okay, I'll draw, there are so many stamens in a side, but because there is a markings over here, I'm only drawing one on this side, and I'll draw 2, 3 on this side. Okay, so this is, what is this? This is the anther. Okay, this is the filament. And we know something, there's a colorful thing around the flower. Why is the colorful thing, or what is the colorful thing? That is the petals. So it's a rough sketch, and this is the petal. Okay, and then this ovary is attached to the thalamus. This is the thalamus. Okay, this is the sepals. So these are the parts of a flower. So the stigma, style, ovary, these together constitute the female gamete. Okay, and these together would give rise to the male gamete. So this is to talk about the parts of a flower. So now let's discuss about the male reproductive part, or the sexual part of the flower where the male gametes are there. That is our anther and filament. Okay, we learn about it. So filament plus anther, the whole structure is known as the stamen, and that is the androecium. We call the male gamete as androecium. Okay, so this is the androecium, and to tell you a point, the androecium and the gynoecium plus the wall of the flower will whole constitute the flower, and also the androecium plus gynoecium would give the sexual word. Okay, so now let's learn about the structure of the stamen. So This is the anther. This is the filament. Okay, this is the basic structure of what? The anther. Sorry, the stamen. So stamen is the andrecium. So now we have to learn about the parts. The filament is just a supporting character for the anther. The anther plays a major role. In the anther there is pollen grains. Okay, on the surface of the anther there is pollen grains. So we'll discuss the structure of anther, the pollen grains, etc. So now we learn about anther. That is anther I drew before. Anther was drawn like this. Now I drew like this. Anther plus filaments which look like this. Why did I draw two? It is because anther is bilobed. Okay. And in each of the lobe there is two. I will draw the structure. It is bilobe, no? So we'll draw two lobes. I draw the two lobes straight, that's it. So we have two lobes, that is bilobe structure, and the andrecium or the anther will act as a microsporangia. Because why? Because it acts like a sac for the formation of spores. Okay, and each of these lobes have two microspores. This is half, no? This is two lobes. So the first lobe and the second lobe. Each lobe has two microsporangia, and these microsporangia is called as theca. Okay, theca. And therefore, what is the one lobe of the anther called as? It is bithecus or dithecus. Sorry, dithecus. Okay, or ditheca or dithecus. So this is the structure of anther. So now we learn in depth about the anther. So now we will be discussing about the theca, the structure or the histology of theca. So what is theca? Theca is two structures in the bilobe anther. Okay, so we learn about in detail. So over here you can see the first one is epidermis. The outermost one is the epidermis. And then there is a long cell. Can you see a longer cell? That is endothecium. And the next one is the middle layer. Okay, the middle layer, the red color one. This is a rough diagram. I will show you the fair diagram towards the end of the explanation. So this is the middle layer, and over here is tapetum. This is tapetum. Tapetum is very similar to that of what are placenta in human. Okay, I will discuss the use now. Okay, and over here this is actually small tissues, that is sporogenous tissues, where the sporogenous mother cells, okay, the mother spore cell is there. Mother spore cell is present over here. So the epidermis, the endothecium and the middle layer together forms the wall layer. Okay, I have written over here wall layer is equal to epidermis plus endothecium plus the middle layer. Okay, and what is the duty or what is the function of a wall layer? The function of the wall layer is protection and also dehiscence. What do you mean by dehiscence? That means the spore. I told you that the anther is what? Anther is a microsporangia where the spores are inside. So what happens? It has to burst to let the spores move out. So that bursting or the release of these spores is known as dehiscence or dehiscence. Okay. So for protection and dehiscence, we have the wall layer. And what is the role of tapetum? I told you that tapetum has the same role of placenta in humans or in organisms. So tapetum plays a nourishing role, okay, for the sporogenous tissues where the mother spore cell is there. Okay, so these sporogenous tissues should be nourished. If there is no proper nourishment, the formation of spores will not happen. So for the proper formation and the development of a spore, the tapetum acts its role. Okay. So now we will discuss about the formation of microsporangia. Okay. So now we will discuss about the formation of microspores. That is called as microsporogenesis. So okay. So microsporogenesis, the word microspores is the like it's very similar to sporogenous tissues. So the sporogenous tissues has something known as the microspore mother cell. In the case of the formation of microspores, whole of the this is the wall layer, and inside it we have the sporangia, sorry, we have the sporogenous tissues. Every sporogenous tissues would act as what? Microspore mother cell in the case of this process of formation of microspores. So over here, after this undergoes meiosis and it becomes spore tetrads. Okay, spore tetrads. And these spore tetrads, what happens is the spore tetrads would undergo development and would turn into the formation of the pollens. The pollens are I am drawing it like this because there is no space below. So this is the pollens. Pollens mature, and that is the mature pollen is called as the male gamete. Okay, this is the formation of microspores. Next we have to learn we learn now pollen. Pollen is the last stage. Pollen contains the male gamete. So I told you it's a mature pollen. Mature pollen contains the male gamete. So let's see about pollen now. Now we'll discuss about the formation of the gametes. We learned that after maturation of this pollen grains only, there would be the formation of gametes. I said only male gametes is when the pollen grains mature. So now we'll see the structure of a pollen grain, the maturation, etc. So first we'll draw the pollen grain. So this is the structure of a spore, structure of a pollen grain before maturation, okay? And this stage, what happens is, I'll tell you first what all are the parts, okay? This is called as exine, and this is intine. This is cell membrane. This is the nucleus. Okay, so what happens is this would undergo mitosis. Okay, this would undergo mitosis and it will become two cells. Okay, I will show you. After mitosis, what happens is it will undergo cell division. It will divide mitotically, and what will happen? The formation of two cells takes place. So there is now two cells, so there should be two nuclei. Okay, and we have something known as the exine. So this is the exine. This is the, now we have two cells. We have to name each cell. This cell is known as the vegetative cell, and so the nucleus of a vegetative cell is known as the vegetative nucleus. Okay, and this small cell is known as the generative cell. And the nucleus is called as the what? Generative nucleus. And you can see there are small gaps between the exine. This is known as germ spores. Okay, sorry, germ pores. So this is the structure, and now also the formation of gametes is not taken place. This is called as the two-cell stage. Okay, now you can see there's two cells in the pollen grain itself. Now, like if the cell, usually 60% of the plants are released their pollen in this stage. Rest of them release in the next stage where the gametes are already found. So now we have to learn what is the content, what is the exine made up of. Exine is something that is very irregular. It is not regular. It is unevenly distributed. There is spores over here. It can be over here. There can be a spore over here. There can be a spore over here. There is no definite place where it has, or a definite pattern. So this is an uneven distributed structure that gives protection. And exine is made up of what? It is made up of a substance known as sporopollenin. So what is the function of sporopollenin? Sporopollenin is a substance that won't react or that won't be destroyed with the help or in the presence of heat, temperature or whatever, like enzymes, acids, anything. It is a very resistant substance, so that is why it is there on the outside of the pollen grain. Okay, and then to talk about intine. Intine is made up of cellulose and pectin. Okay, so what is it? Intine is made up of cellulose plus pectin gives the intine, and over here we will mark the exine. Exine is equal to what? Sporopollenin. Okay, so this is the 2-cell stage. Sorry. Over here also there is something that's going to happen. Without the formation of gametes, you can't say that the pollen grains would undergo sexual reproduction. So there should be the gametes, no? Now we learn about how there is formation of gametes. So I told you 2 cells, vegetative cell and generative cell. The smaller one is the generative cell. The generative cell undergoes mitosis and it will split into 2 and form the 2 gametes. So what would happen to the whole? As a whole, what happens? So now see the drawing. So this is the vegetative cell. This is the vegetative nucleus. And we said that the generative cell undergoes mitosis and becomes 2. So it becomes 2 and this is the 2 male gametes. Okay, now this in all has 3 structures inside this. Okay, 3 cells. This is the exine. So over here you can see this is one whole cell. Male gamete to get one male gamete is a cell, another male gamete is another cell. So in all there is 3 cells, and therefore it is called as a 3-cell stage. Here the formation of gametes has taken place and it is complete. So this is how there is the formation of gametes inside a microspore or a pollen grain. So now we have to discuss about the vegetative cell and the generative cell. So to talk about the vegetative cell, this was the vegetative cell and this was the generative cell. From seeing this, okay, this is the vegetative cell. Okay, and this is the vegetative nucleus and this is the generative nucleus, and there is the exine over here. Okay, so in all what did we learn? Now we are learning about vegetative cell and the generative cell. Compare the size of the cells. You can see vegetative cell is larger. So first point is larger. Okay, and you can see the nucleus, the difference between the nucleus. Over here the nucleus is larger and also it is irregular in shape. So larger size, large, irregular shaped nucleus. And now we can see there is a lot of cytoplasm. Here there is only small area, so there will be a little cytoplasm. Over here is a large area and there is so much of cytoplasm. So high cytoplasm, okay, implies what? It is a very good food reserve, okay, high food reserve. Okay. To talk about vegetative cell, that is all. Now we'll talk about the generative cell. So it's all right opposite. Let's see. The generative cell has smaller size, spindle shaped, floating on the cytoplasm of vegetative cell. Okay. So what is it? It is smaller in size. It's spindle in shape. No, it's spindle shaped. So it's spindle shaped. It is floating on the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. See, it is on the cytoplasm. It is inside. Okay. So this is called as the vegetative cell. Also, the vegetative cell has dense cytoplasm with only one nucleus. Okay. That nucleus is small also. So this is to talk about the vegetative and generative cell. So now we learn about the pollen germination. We learn the formation of male gametes. After the male gamete formation, then there should be the germination. Then there should be fertilization, etc. So let's first learn about the pollen germination. An important role for pollen germination is the formation of pollen tube. So for the formation of pollen tube, there must be a germ pore. Okay. So let's see. Germ pores in a pollen grain can vary from 1 to many. It should be at least 1 for the formation of what? The pollen tube. So how does the pollen tube form? The pollen tube form is like that is intine. The intine. I'll draw the structure. If this is the rough sketch, okay? Vegetative nucleus and the 2 gametes, okay? If this is the germ spore, okay? The intine and the cell membrane would extend in the time of germination. Okay. And what would happen? It will penetrate through the stigma, and this germination of these pollen grains would happen only if they are compactable. If the pollen grain and the stigma is not compactable, there won't be germination. And so it will extend, and what would happen? If there is if you have a bottle and you keep it upside down, and if you open the bottle, what would happen? The contents will fall off. The same way, and there's an opening. Before it was closed, so it was tightly packed. So when it is open, what will happen? The cell content, there is nucleus, everything. This big nucleus, the male gametes, the cytoplasm, everything will come to the end. So this is what is called. This is what is the germination. And then the size of a pollen grain varies from 50 picometer. Okay, so this is the size. And next we have to learn about the importance and the functions and like what all does a pollen grain do, benefits and the disadvantages. So the importance of pollen grains. First importance is it is a food supplement. Okay. Which is used by both like human beings as well as animals. So like animals like bee etc. use these pollen grains, they eat these pollen grains, whereas human beings like athletes who needs high energy eats pollen grains as supplements. And the next one is that pollen grains are also helpful in the germination. They will help in the germination of the plant. So if there is no pollen grains, there won't be the formation of male gametes. If there's no male gametes, there is no fertilization, there is no formation of flowers or the next generation. So the next one is reproducing the young ones. Okay, that's the second one. This is disadvantages. There are many people who are allergic to pollens. Pollen, if when it got inside our nose and it goes to our lungs, it can cause many breathing diseases, breathing disorders. Our lungs can have problems. We can get asthma, etc. So that is a disadvantage of pollen grains. So now we learn about the viability of the pollen grains. So what are the factors that affect viability? We have to learn three factors. The first one is temperature. Second one is humidity. Third one is genetic potential. Okay, pollen grains can be stored. How is it? The storage of pollen grains is known as cryopreservation. What is cryopreservation? It is not literally the pollen grains are stored in a small dabba or a box. It is these pollen grains are kept in liquid nitrogen at 196 degrees Celsius. So what is happening at liquid nitrogen at 196 degrees Celsius? This pollen grains are stored. Why is it stored, or how does it help? What is the use of storing it? So if you think there is an extinction or an endanger of any species, and if you have the pollen grains, you can find a suitable stigma, and then you can propagate. You can do the fertilization through the other method. There's artificial hybridization, something known as that. They do that, and then you can get the progeny of that, and that progeny would be preserved, and then the seeds from that or the pollens from that is again used, and you can actually extend the period of the life or the continuity of the generations of that plant. So that is the use of cryopreservation. So that is all to talk about the androecium. Now we have to learn about something known as gynoecium. The next one is gynoecium. So let's write. Gynoecium is also called as pistil. According to the number of pistils, there are two types, that is monocarpellary and multicarpellary. Okay? So this multicarpellary also is again divided into two: apocarpus and syncarpus. Okay? So what is monocarpellary? There is only one pistil. And multi, there is more than one pistil. And what is syncarpus and apocarpus? Apocarpus means free pistils. Okay, the pistils are free. Whereas syncarpus is what? Fused pistils. Okay. So now we learn about the structure of the gynoecium. So when in the beginning of the chapter, I drew the structure of the gynoecium, the whole flower with the stamen, stigma, everything. So let's just redraw it again. So this is the stigma, this is the style, this is the ovary. So this is stigma, style, ovary. To talk about stigma, stigma is the landing platform. It's a landing platform for pollen grains. Whereas style is a slender, what do you say, a stalk-like structure on the pistil. And then the last one is ovary, is the bulge part where ovules are there, where inside which the megaspores or megasporangium is present. So this is to talk about the gynoecium, the overview of gynoecium. So now we'll see the how an ovule looks like. I told you ovary has these structures are known as ovules. So let's see each structure. Okay. megasporangia or the ovule. The rough diagram goes like this. If there is, this is the rough diagram of the sporangia. Okay, so now there is something inside also. Let's draw. So let's see. The two, can you see two layers? These two are called as integuments. They are two, inner integument and outer integument. Okay? And then you can see there is something inside. These dots are actually not dots. They are cellular structures like this. To draw the whole structure will take time. That is why I just drew it in dots. Yeah. This is how it will look inside, and this is called the nucellus. Okay, this is the nucellus. This is the integument, this is the nucellus. And then over here, can you see a stalk-like part? This is known as the funicle. Okay, and this portion, the portion at the funicle and the ovule connected together, that point is called as what? Hilum. And over here there's two parts for the ovule. This is the chalazel end, and this is over here is micropyle. Okay, so this is not a micropyle and it's not chalazel, it is chalaza only. Over here this is the micropyle portion. The topper one over here it is micropyle, and the bottom one where the funicle or the hilum is there is known as the chalazel end. Okay, the chalazel end and the micropyle end. That is what we say, and this is the chalaza and the micropyle. So that is all to talk about the megasporangia or ovule. So we will learn about the megasporogenesis in the next part. So stay tuned for that. That's all for today's lesson. I hope you might have liked my video. If you've liked it, please do give my video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new to it, and share my videos to your other friends too. So see you all in my next video. Till then, bye bye.